good. A little bit wet.
Yeah, a little. Good evening. We'd like to open the Planning Board of Wednesday, July 12th, a little bit late here, 7:06 p.m. And present tonight we have Sean Guerin, member, Guy Horn, member, Mark Marziotti, chairman, and Don Johnson, town planner. We will move right into our agenda. Agenda item A is an A&R request of Rick Para to re-endorse the A&R plan of land on Partridge Hill Road in Charlton, portion of a lot in Dudley. And this is the Robert F. Para Family Trust. So we had previously signed this, Don, we previously signed this, but...
Last meeting, that's right, but Rick explained, but apparently there's a change in Charlton that doesn't bring anything up
Okay.
anyway. Doesn't have to be resubmitted per se, I don't think.
Yep.
Do you have any Sharpies, Ben?
The only thing different with this plan is, and I have a copy of it, there was a statement on this right-of-way that it's an existing right-of-way. Town of Charlton was uncomfortable with endorsing the plan as an existing way in existence because it doesn't meet no passable standards, even though by deep research, I know that it's pre-Civil War, not pre-Revolutionary War.
Sure.
It's there, it's a right-of-way, it's in the deeds. Because this whole area in here, about a square mile, is all chunk 20, 30, 40 acre woodlots with no road frontage. And this was their access.
And you have the other plan that just shows, what did that just say, existing right-of-way?
Yes.
We're only talking about 80 feet of land in Dudley.
Right.
So we don't have to revote it. We can just re-sign it, right?
Thank you.
Do you have a Mylar pen? Do you have two paper copies?
That's it? Rick, could you sign in the sign sheet over there before you go? Let's sign them all out that way.
Okay, moving on to item B, A&R, resubmission of the A&R plan of land on Progress Ave, Fairview Ave, and Men's Zone Drive, Deborah DuPont Schmidt et al. Welcome back.
Good evening. How you doing tonight? Staying dry?
Yeah.
I was here 3 weeks ago with this same A&R plan, and at the time, I know at least one of the board members, a couple of you, felt uncomfortable with the using Men's Zone Drive as our access point on our lots, and you had asked if we would go back to the building inspector and just confirm with him that that meets the letter of the definitions in the zoning code. So we agreed to do that. We withdrew the plan, and I went and met with the building inspector the following Thursday, and he agrees that the way we've designed these lots does meet the code. There are 3 definitions of frontage in the bylaw, which is a little confusing, but he agrees that this works, this meets the letter of the law. We had 2 road stubs coming out, or just 2 necks of those 2 big lots coming out on Men's Zone Drive that are each called out as the access points, is what it says in the regulations, to show where you're accessing a lot that has frontage on 2 streets. And he was comfortable with that. He told me that he would call Don and indicate the same.
He didn't give you a letter?
No, he said he would call Don and go.
Did you speak to him, Don?
I spoke to him, I think we were, I know we mentioned that there wasn't really any, may not be access off Fairview Drive because it's not public way, private way within the subdivision. Land on that side of the street wasn't part of the subdivision. Yet the subdivision control law reads that on the provisions for access is on a street that's approved under subdivision control.
You can't have any access off of Fairview, correct? That's
I don't think you
private
can
property,
because it's private property,
not part of the original subdivision.
not this land.
Right.
The site was.
The only access would be from Menzoni Drive, which you don't have. You have enough frontage there? Or you don't have enough frontage?
We do have each of those lots has frontage on Menzoni Drive.
But you don't have a legal frontage.
That's correct. Our legal frontage is on Fairview.
50.
But Fairview's not a public way, it's a private way.
That's a private.
Menzoni's not a public way either, that's a private way as well, but those both meet the requirement under the subdivision control law for use as frontage. And I brought a couple of the plans that you've already signed that are recorded for frontage lots on Fairview, if you want a copy of those, but you've already signed plans with A&R lots fronting on Fairview, and Fairview meets the requirement under the subdivision.
Well, part of Fairview is not, still private, so part of it isn't, part of it is. Part of
Right.
it's public way now, so
Right.
this part right here is private way, so that's
Right.
private property, so that would be separate from if there is any other, I don't know which ones you're talking about.
Yeah, they're the next, right past the bend, and some that are directly across the street from this.
Directly across the street, they're not dealing with a huge incline.
This is the bend, so these lots right here, directly across from this.
Where's Paula Lane, right here, right? I think this is accepted.
Yeah, but these lots were endorsed for the owner of the land.
Right.
He owns, this is for Mr. Chinaki, he owns the land, he owns Fairview
But it still
Ave.
has to have lead frontage on a street to have a subdivision. You couldn't sign lots unless you have frontage on a way that is acceptable under the subdivision control law. Otherwise, you couldn't sign the plan. There's one that's further up on the next corner, but again, this is exactly what the subdivision control law says. There are 3 things that are acceptable as legal frontage for a lot. And the reason I'm presuming that the board signed these is because Fairview Ave is legal frontage under the subdivision control law.
He owns Fairview
He
Ave
owns
at
the
the
road.
moment.
Okay, but it's
It hasn't been accepted yet. That's probably in a plan of a subdivision plan that's to be accepted sooner or later.
But it's on a signed definitive plan. So it's essentially the same as Menzoni Drive. This is a private way.
Well, who owns Benzoni Drive? Don?
Presumably the butters.
The abutters own it?
It showed up on a copy of the plan here from 1908 and 1910 in 2018, or somewhere around there.
Right, but the thing that I'm
That
getting,
was
the thing that I'm getting
10
at
foot right of way,
is
and
whether
then
it's
some-
private or not, when you come down Men's Zone Drive, you can access all these lots. It's flat.
Right.
You can't access lot 4 or 5 from Fairview Ave going up that hill.
You can't easily, but.
You can't, because you'd have to go through Mr. Chinaki's land to get there.
No, you would go through Fairview Ave, you would come off of Fairview Avenue.
Right, but there's a retaining wall built across there that he built.
Right, that shows on the plan, that's right here. So you could bring a driveway up here. That's what we were trying to avoid, is we have legal frontage on this street. This meets the requirement under the subdivision control law for legal frontage. That meets the letter of the law. And then under your bylaw, it says if you have a lot with frontage on 2 streets, which we created here and here, you need to identify on the plan where access is from. So that's why these both say access, and that's right out of your bylaw.
But that's legal frontage on an accepted road, isn't it?
No, it has to have legal frontage on a road that qualifies under the subdivision control law. It doesn't have to be an accepted road. This is a private road. These lots were all created off of this and signed by the board.
Then Guy brings up actually a very good point there also.
I mean, the issue is, I mean, it's the same thing like we had on 131 when the guy had frontage on 131, but there was a guardrail there, and you couldn't go through the guardrail because it's a state highway. So he had frontage.
That is different.
He had frontage, but he couldn't get there.
But you can see where the wall ends, and you can drive through, you could come right through here with a single driveway that's 12 feet wide. It would take, you have to come up this hill, so it'd be a steep driveway. We'd love to avoid that. Same thing here, you can drive right in, there's actually a cart road. You could drive a pickup truck in here today, right in the sewer easement. There's a dirt road that goes right in there today. So you could drive right into this lot and come right up here. There's nothing prohibiting that, nothing. There's not a guardrail that crosses these 2 lots.
You're trying to go up close to 30 feet.
Right, but on this lot, it's easier because you can follow the contours and you can come right up here, and this is the center area where you would build on this lot. This one's harder, and that's what we were trying to avoid. Again, when I was here last time, you had said you weren't
Yeah.
comfortable with the access points on these lots.
Well, in the
And
past,
you
when
won't-
we've had situations like this, what's happened is people have used double access like this. So for lot 4 and 5, if your legal frontage is on Fairview Ave, you're gonna have an address for the house on that street at Fairview Ave. Somebody gets sick in that house and they call the ambulance goes to Fairview Ave. They can't get to the house because the access is off of Men's Zone Drive.
But that still meets your frontage and area and lot requirement under your zoning bylaw. Your zoning bylaw under frontage has a specific section that says you can have frontage on 2 streets. So for every lot in town that has frontage on 2 streets, you have that exact same issue, but it is right in your code. I'd be happy to, we went through this last time.
We read through it last
Yeah,
week.
I'm not a lawyer either, so I'm not gonna, I can interpret it a little bit different also.
Hey, the building inspector has supported it and endorsed it. I mean,
But we don't have anything in writing.
well, yeah, I would, if we were
I need a
to, if
letter.
we were to make this work, we could just make it contingent upon that letter from Nelson.
Would you be agreeable to that?
Sure, so the board would vote to approve this tonight, subject to receiving that letter from him. As soon as you have that, you would sign the plan, and then we'd come back and pick it up then.
Is that all right?
That's fine, if you're comfortable with that. I met with him, and then when he called on, if you prefer it, I can understand that.
Personally, I would rather look into it a little bit more, on my end.
Well, let's get the letter, at least let's get
At
the
least
letter
let them
from.
get the letter, that's fine, I have no problem with that. I just wanna make sure that we're not signing something we're not supposed to do.
What it's worth. I have a.
Use the mic, Don,
Did I
please.
start from a document here? From the, it's called Massachusetts Streets and Ways for Surveyors. Written by a lawyer from F. Sidney Smithers Esquire from Kane Hibbard Myers PC in Pittsfield. Says private ways most commonly known to us in our practice, in other words, surveyors, are subdivision ways. Private ways are in all respects private, being laid out, constructed, and maintained by private individuals for their private purposes. Public use of such ways only with the consent of the owner, although such consent is often given in the case of residential subdivisions. It is often assumed by the layman that subdivision roads are public long before they were accepted at town meeting. So, you know, I'm not a lawyer either, but
Does
this,
that go on to explain the three types of roads that are suitable under the subdivision control?
not there, but I'm aware of that, yeah,
You're aware of that?
sure.
Yeah, so
Sure.
that's, and one of those is a public way that's been, on a, I guess, a
Way
roadway
that's-
that's been approved by the planning board on a definitive plan,
Yeah,
which
Right.
Fairview has, a way that's been used as legal frontage, and has been recorded, which those plans have been. I mean, again, we're not trying to, you know, what we're trying to do is design a good plan and stay off of Fairview, because it doesn't make sense to go up that steep slope. So your bylaw specifically says you can have frontage on 2 streets, and it specifically says you just need to call out where your access is from. We did that. We went back and met with the building inspector and walked him through each of these definitions, and he agreed the way these are designed, it is acceptable. And I think at the last meeting, the members that were here were suggesting they didn't want to sign the plan and then have us go to him, go to the building inspector later, and he says, I'm not gonna
Mhm.
sign it for some reason, so we said, all right, we'll withdraw the plan. We went and met with him,
Yeah.
he agreed these 3 definitions are a little vague, but the design, the way this is per that plan. And we have one that's called lot front. On any lot bounded on more than one side by a street, such as those 2, the street boundary that is to be the lot front shall be so designated in any application for a permit to build on such lot. And so that's why we put access on both of those. They both have legal access on a way that qualifies under the subdivision control law, and he was comfortable with that. He said, I have no issue with the board signing the plan. A way does not need to be a public accepted way to be suitable under the subdivision control law. You have all, I mean, we have this plan right here, and I have that one right here.
Well, we have
All these
access
lots
to the
are-
other lots from going into Eagle Drive and all that, and Paula Lane and everything, but you need to keep that, that is through that landowner, isn't it? He owns all those subdivisions, correct? Mr.
Not Paul Lane, but
Pauline Circle Drive was Conrad Allen.
Conrad Allen.
Exact same situation, Men's Money Drive, that is a private way.
I understand, I understand what you're saying. I just, I don't feel comfortable here.
But again, if that subdivision is, if this subdivision or these lots of land are owned by the owner of Men's Zone Drive, then that's a non-issue. But-
Right.
So we don't know who the ownership is. But I respect the fact that, you know, that the applicant has gone and done what we asked him to do. And I think that, albeit vague, the subdivision control law identifies that this plan is accurate, and that's backed up by our
Zoning
our
official.
inspector. So, I mean, that's my opinion.
Yeah, I would agree if the building inspector is acceptable with this. I mean, the only thing we have to do is, I think, if those 2 lots are built upon, that it needs to be addressed with the assessor, that they give you an address on Menzone Drive and not on Fairview Ave, so that they don't have problems with emergency management.
definitely.
Because we've had that in the past, problems.
And that's wide enough for a drive, right?
Mm-hmm. 25
Yeah.
feet. And I'm pretty sure
I
that.
have no problem on that end of it.
I'm pretty sure the
My problem
assessor
is
can do
on
it.
this end of it.
Oh, is
Going
it?
to this, I know part of it's accepted, I know part of it, and I understand what that is, but I can interpret things 100 ways, but it doesn't really matter what, because I'm just me, you know?
But if the building official's willing to give them a building permit to build on a
I
lot
still
laid
want
out
to
like
protect
that.
the town and the residents of the
Yeah,
town,
and we
so.
were trying to do the same by not having driveways go on Fairview.
Well, contingent upon the letter, I guess it's okay. I mean, it's just, I think, a little bit more research.
Well, that's the motion I'd be entertaining, so if you're so
good with the letter.
inclined, then I say we proceed.
Other provisions, it says interior lots, section 3.09.0, interior lots, flag lots, pork chop lots. Interior lots shall have at least 50 feet of road frontage on an accepted town road or state highway.
These are not,
This is really, residential lots shall have a minimum of 5 acres, not including access areas, yeah. It takes up a good part of your property.
I mean, you could've did that if you had utilized this 16 acres over here.
Most of that's wetland though, that's why we left that as open space.
Okay.
So that, and again, you know, we see million bylaws, they're all have some gray areas, but even that, when it says you need to have at least 5 acres, and it says half of the property needs to be upland. So we were unclear if we make an 8-acre lot, does half of that need to be upland, 4 acres, or just half of the 5 acres? It's not crystal clear, so we decided after we had met with you, we were here last time, and we were down to this one question about access, let's just leave the plan the way it is, we believe it meets the level involved, the building inspector agrees, so we said, we weren't gonna start changing things.
I mean, the other thing we talked about was even if you eliminated this lot, you'd have 100-foot of frontage on both Lot 5 and 4. However, you're still coming off a private road.
The thing too, if you put a cul-de-sac of some kind in there, a turnaround, a bulb, if you will, you can do something, access off that.
Well, I knew we had talked about that, but
Yeah.
actually with the private road up Minzoni Drive, who is the ownership, who has the ownership of that, do we know?
Missouri Drive.
Yeah.
Most likely the abutters,
The abutters themselves.
generally.
Because there's nobody that lives there anymore that's named Minzone.
So we need letters from them, signatures from them, or whatever,
To do improvements to the roadway, I think, yes.
Yeah. to put a cul-de-sac there, is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Put a cul-de-sac, you actually had to come back and forth and definitive subdivision.
Right.
You're creating new frontage, you can argue.
Well, yeah,
Definitive plan, so.
And you got the sense, Don, that when you were speaking with Nelson, that he understood that Fairview Ave was a private road? And he understood that,
Fairview, I did talk to him about that. I haven't really had much of a chance to the past couple of weeks, to be honest with
I
you.
know, Don's been out
I
sick.
talked to him on the phone, I talked to him for a little bit today, but he didn't understand that it was a private way, yes.
He did.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, well, again, we'll approve my proposal is that, my opinion is that we approve this, and if for some reason Nelson comes back and says, whoa, I didn't really quite understand, I didn't realize that was a private road, whatever it might be, and we don't get that letter, then obviously it's moot. So, I think that there's that level of protection certainly for the board, because we are relying on the building inspector to, support this plan, and I trust the applicant that, that's the conversation that was had, and what he said to you, so.
If that's the case, then it's like usually is, but it should be signed and be sure the notice on there that there's no determination of zoning made by the endorsement.
Make sure there's what?
No determination of zoning made by the endorsement of the planning board. Something to that effect. Planning board approval is not,
We have that on there already, we put that on every.
all right, just make sure that's there.
Planning board endorsement is not a determination as to conformance with the zoning bylaw.
Okay.
And naturally, that's the building inspector's purview, he's the zoning enforcement officer. He needs
Mhm.
to do
Right.
that.
Right.
We met with him and he said it was
Okay.
acceptable.
I'm fine with that then, as long as we get a letter of, in the affirmative from the building inspector.
Do we have the application for this?
I have it, but it's the same application we had before, though, so.
Because we don't, I'm not gonna be able to get the book and pages off of everything here. Make the motion.
It was in our last, oh, you got it there, Don?
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the A&R plan of lots for Deborah DuPont Schmidt, 100 Vista Circle, number 402, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Presented by Waterman Design Associates. I'm just trying to find a book and page here. Yep. So deed book 5752, page 211, and is presently shown in whole or on part of Dudley Assessors Tax Map number 119 through 123, plot or parcel number 124. And we're going to endorse this A&R plan contingent to having a signed letter from the zoning official or our building inspector, Nelson Burlingame.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the lot of lands before us.
I'll second that.
And we have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay.
So we have to sign.
Will you speak to Nelson directly, or should I give him a call?
Probably see him tomorrow night, if you'd like to give him a call, sure.
Okay, I'll just give him a
Usually
call.
gets in about 4:30 or so on
Tomorrow,
Thursdays.
Thursday.
Yeah,
All right, I'll call him and just let him know you'll be talking to him as well.
okay.
Thank you very much.
All right,
Thank
thank you.
Thank you. Sign them
Huh?
now. Sign them now, do we don't hold them?
Yeah,
Didn't we just give them out?
yeah, exactly. So, release this only when we get that letter, okay?
Right.
Thank you.
There were actually, you signed the application, there were actually a couple of copies of this application because some of the owners were out of state. Each owner had to sign a separate form, so she knows that we endorsed them all.
So there's only one copy of each of those. Yeah. That's what gets filed.
Okay, the next item we have is a request for Tony Sakura to establish a performance guarantee for the released lots within Pier Pond Estates. Tony? Good evening.
Can you sign in?
Yeah, just sign in before you go, okay? All right.
I give up.
Good evening, Tony.
Good evening. I want to thank everybody for coming down the other day. All right.
You're welcome.
Okay, and we paved today, and I'd like to see if the board can vote on releasing the lots, subject to, Jeff Walsh was there, and he's gonna make a report. And he's gonna send it over like in the next couple of days.
I spoke with Jeff, he was very satisfied with the paving job.
Totally satisfied?
Yeah.
Okay. So how many lots were you looking to get released, Tony?
6,
6 lots.
yeah,
And these are all on the new pavement?
yeah.
Okay. And are they ending from where the old lots ended, going up the hill?
Yeah, yeah, goes from, that's the station 23 to station 29.
Okay. And are they like 3 lots on each side of the road?
Yeah.
Okay.
So as soon as we get that letter over, the bond in place, if the vote, we can vote on release the lots, subject, getting that bond in.
Yeah.
And we'll go from there, so I can go back to work.
Okay. And everything was worked out with the bank that they're gonna supply you the
I hope
the
tomorrow.
surety? The
I
sur-
hope tomorrow.
Okay,
Well, as soon as we get it, we'll ship it right off to town council. Also review it with the town treasurer.
Did they ever send over a sample?
They haven't sent that yet, no. I think what Tony's saying is that they probably, hopefully do that tomorrow.
Okay.
So the amount is been agreed to, as far as that goes. And I think everybody's comfortable with Jeff's estimate.
Mm-hmm.
And
And that's what we're asking for the
Yeah.
surety to be, right?
that amount in a suitable form, whatever it may be, whether it's a lender's agreement, whether it's letter of credit, cash deposit, whatever it may be. Excuse me.
Okay.
all right, so because you've already put the binder course down for pavement, right?
It's done, yeah, we did it today, yeah.
Okay, so then we,
Jeff Walsh was there.
so based on the 2 estimates that Jeff Walsh made, we're looking at the 120 estimate?
120.
Okay, so you're gonna get that surety for the amount of 120?
Yeah.
Okay. So then you're basically looking for us to vote contingent to the surety coming from the bank and it being accepted by our town council and our town treasurer.
That's correct.
And if that's, once Don gets that, then he would go ahead and give you a piece of paper saying that the 6 lots could be released, and you could then apply for your building permits. Do we have a plan with the lot numbers on the plan?
I have the plan, but I have the lot numbers listed here, so.
Oh, you have the lot numbers listed there? That would be good.
This is what the release would look like.
Because all I have in the book is the graves.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, okay. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion for the release of lots 12, 13, 14, 15, 47, and 48, based on a modification of Pierpont Estates, deed book plan 853, plan number 6. And this vote would be contingent to satisfactory surety coming from the bank and approved by town council and the town treasurer.
The amount the amount of $120,000.
In the amount of $120,000.
Okay? We have a motion.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second to approve the lots effort mentioned for the subdivision. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Unanimous?
If we get something, we'll forward it.
What's that?
If we get something, we'll forward it to town council and town treasurer.
Okay.
Should we,
And you'll-
should we sign that now and you hold it, or?
You have to wait. One of you should sign it in front of a notary tomorrow morning. Whoever might be in town hall.
I'll be around.
The two of you can sign that, and
Yeah.
one can notarize, have it notarized tomorrow morning.
Mark, you and I sign it, and he can come to
And
it.
I'll hold on to it until we get
Around.
the word from the town council.
Yeah.
and- yeah.
Has any other work been done on the phase 2 part with the water and?
Not much. Help lately.
Is that gonna be getting done soon, or?
Tony said he wanted to do it this year and get this.
I'm sorry.
Remember, you can't go back to work until we get that stuff. All right? Couple more days of break.
I waited all this
Talk to you in the
I
morning.
know, I know.
You're gonna be in the mud anyways, so you wanna wait for it to dry out.
Oh, thank you again.
Yep.
Okay, and good night.
Okay,
Have a good night, Tony.
bye.
I'll see you on tomorrow.
Okay. You in tomorrow, Don?
All day. Late.
Making up time,
All
right?
that nice vacation you had.
Okay.
Yeah, free vacation.
Item D, request of George Slingo to discuss the preparation of as-built and acceptance plans for the Tobin Farm Estates.
George,
Don't see
the one day
George.
that I was here, 29th, I think it was, whatever, 20th, whatever it was. One day that I was here, between my stay at the Roberts Hilton. George stopped in and said that he would like to do the as-built plans that, and basically get the streets accepted and done with this town meeting coming up in the spring next year. And I said, you probably want to talk to the board. He said, yeah, I'd like to do that. And I tried calling him today, and he was in traffic, and he couldn't, his cell phone, he couldn't really talk, so he didn't get back to me, so maybe next meeting. But it's approximately, I think it's around $13,000 left. The bond escrow, whatever you want to call it, and you want to be sure that would be enough to finish it.
There's a
The
lot
as-built,
more
so
work than that that needs to be done up there, though, right?
Technically,
Hmm?
technically. Let's put it this way. The work that's absolutely necessary for access has been done. There were a lot of other things too. There were sidewalks, there were a couple drainage systems that probably need a little work.
Wasn't there a letter that we were still waiting upon from last year sometime? Letter of intent or something like that?
The last discussion that we had about that, if I remember correctly, was that they wanted us to release a particular lot so that they could sell it. And if they could sell it, then they could finish the subdivision, and that was Mark Ehrlich and George Slingo and Dickie Andrelevich, maybe.
Mhm.
And after that meeting, we never heard another word
Yeah,
from
Another
them.
word, exactly, so.
So,
The last the minutes showed was, it was about September or October 2015. It's the last time it showed up that I could see. I looked through
Mhm.
minutes, I watched a few videos.
Oh, we would
yeah,
have-
it's unfortunate, though, that, that someone comes, an applicant comes before you and makes, pleads a case, and, you know, you support them, you know, with allowing them to do something, and then they don't do what they say they're gonna do, and so it's okay, because the next time that happens, the board's decision will be different, but anyway, it is what it is.
Apparently they did do some work after that, to the best of my knowledge. Well, they did finish the top coat. They did raise all the structures up to the top coat, so they did a lot of work with the structures, the basins and so forth, especially.
But we'd still need letters from superintendent of highway and
Still
fire
need,
chief and all
still need a
that,
certified
correct?
as-built plan, too.
Okay,
That's primarily what we wanted to talk to the board about how to prepare that.
well, I'll believe it when he's here, so hopefully, he does come and share with us the plan. I think it's only fair to the folks that bought in to that subdivision, but we'll hope that George comes forward and does what he says he'll do. Moving on to item E, discussion of finishing construction of and acceptance of unaccepted subdivision streets. I know that state kind of stays on here. I think you've done a good job, Don, at, you know, kind of reeling in some of
More on
these.
that one, but I'm hoping to get in touch with
builders.
Mr. Chinaki and also with, I can't remember his name right now, Eisenhower Drive.
Mr. Heaney.
Heaney, yeah.
Yeah, I'm really surprised that that one's not off the books, because
Yeah.
it's done.
Yeah.
It's physically
The
done.
thing he had to do was
Wow.
plant street trees, and we have some.
Oh, it looks
different
good
opinions
up
about that,
there,
so it looks good.
Well, also, there's,
There's an area at the end, tip of the cul-de-sac that has to be repaired.
the what?
The area at the tip of the cul-de-sac that has to be repaired, there's a little drainage issue over there. A grading
Yeah,
issue.
well, there was a couple issues, right? So the turnaround was not, I mean, it was probably our fault as much as it was his, but a fire truck can't turn around at the end there, right?
Is
that what we determined?
Back up or something, yeah.
But they can't make a
They can't make
full,
the turn.
full turn.
That's the way it was approved, though, unfortunately.
And then there's also an issue with the emergency pump or something in the,
I think that's been straightened out,
okay.
because they installed the backup pump.
So he got involved in, because there was a discussion about.
I think he did eventually work with the sewer department on that.
I'm pretty sure that pump was all installed and everything.
I think they were satisfied with that.
Because there was a big expense there that the town had to bear.
It was a big expense, but the town didn't have to bear it. I think he straightened it out with them.
All right.
I haven't heard any more about it, so I guess it's settled.
Okay, well, stay diligent on that, Don. I know you have, and you've dug us out of a lot of situations, or at least dug up some good information about some of the situations we're in, so we appreciate that.
Well, let's be us to drive. Looking at that, too.
All right.
We should also mention that we did get Dave's Way crossed off the list, so
Yeah.
one's down, and
Yes,
3 or 4 to go.
And that was,
that looks great also.
and that was due to
Did a great
to the owner of the subdivision's willingness to work with the town and do the right thing. And we complimented him when he was here, and that he didn't abandon the subdivision. He stayed true to it and did everything that he promised that he would do to the people who bought those lots from him, so that's a great job. So. All right, moving on, item F, pre-application meeting with Phoenix Partnership for the purpose of discussing a new personal wireless service facility at 120 Schofield Ave.
I spoke to the engineer yesterday, and he couldn't really make it, but he suggested that the meeting that he already had, I know he hasn't met before the board, but he suggested the meeting he already had, he hoped would be satisfactory for the pre-application meeting. Meeting with me and with Nelson, went through a lot of the plan itself. I could show you a little bit about what they're trying to do, if you like, but he couldn't make it, I think, for family reasons.
Tonight.
Yeah,
So will we have them on the schedule for the next meeting?
you do that.
Yeah, I wasn't here for that, and so if his request is that he use the last time he was here as his pre-application, I'd actually prefer to Sounds like we're all kind of a little bit in the dark about that one, so,
We could probably suggest that he come in the next
Yeah.
next 2 weeks meeting. You're suggesting to me that he's prepared to submit an application within 2 or 3 weeks, so maybe that would be just prior to his application submittal.
all right, but it sounds like he was asking for an exception about his pre-application meeting, and I don't think that we should grant that at this point. I think that he should come in and present. I don't care if it's on the day he makes the application, but I'd like to understand it better.
Yeah, okay.
All right. Item G, request of Ed Switzer of Forefront Power to discuss a proposed solar array at 99 Ramshorn Road. Hello.
How are you guys?
How are you?
Good.
Thank you.
So my name is Ed Schweitzer. I'm with Forefront Power, and we used to be part of a larger company called Sun Edison. When that company went bankrupt, my group was spun off and started a new company called Forefront Power. As part of that, there are some legacy Sun Edison projects that we've been looking at, and this is one of them. I've spoken with Mr. Johnson about it a few times. I understand that solar is not currently permitted in residential zones. This is a residential 87 zone. I just wanted to, before I go back to management and kill the project, I want to make sure that there's absolutely zero viable way forward to getting this permitted. I know that it would either take a change of zoning or for the parcel or amending the zoning bylaw. If it's at all possible to do that, I'm happy to begin that process and do what it takes to get it done. But if you guys aren't willing to support it, that's fine too. I just need to know that there's absolutely no way forward before I do that, because there's an option and other things with the landowner that we need to go ahead and dissolve. So
Okay.
So where is this located?
it's off of Ramshorn Road. It's over up in here.
Okay.
So, right here.
Yeah.
The site itself as you can see on the array, it's pretty far set back from the road.
And it's all Res 87 in that area, right?
Yeah, it's
Yep.
all right.
So to make a change to that, let's just say to, an industrial zone, it would be deemed spot zoning.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And the current proposed layout that you have here, is it all being set up in current fields, or would it be timber harvesting to make the field?
There would have to be some clearing of the trees, yeah.
There'd have to be some clearing of the trees.
As you can see, we're avoiding all the wetland buffers. Parcels are pretty big. They're pretty far set back from the road.
Okay, so, if I may, Mr. Chairman, we had last town meeting, we had another resident in town that put forth a citizen's petition to try to put in a solar farm that was in a residential area that was previously industrial and actually borders both sides of this land by industrial. And basically, I know you weren't there, Mr. Chairman, at that meeting when we had to vote on it, but what I told those people was I was going to look into our neighboring town of Charlton. They recently did something with an overlay district in the town of Charlton for a medical device manufacturer. And it was able to take basically an agricultural piece of land and use it for like light industrial for a medical device manufacturer. And my thought was, if they could do it for a medical device manufacturer, why couldn't we do it in the town of Dudley for a solar field? I mean, it would still have to go through all the public hearings and everything like that. We'd have to get the public's input. I mean, I think the way our zoning is now was because one or maybe two previous solar projects didn't go the way some people in the public wanted it to. So now we've basically got it cut down to just industrial land. And you don't necessarily want to use up all your industrial land for solar fields.
Sure.
So I told that applicant that I would take it upon myself to look into this and find out if it's possible to do it and report back to the board so that we could have if this is possible and we can do it, we could propose it on the warrant for our fall town meeting.
Okay.
And if the people in town voted in as a bylaw, the overlay district is something that's possible to do for solar, and the townspeople voted in, then basically everybody that has a piece of land in Dudley, regardless of the zoning, would have an opportunity to do a solar field if it met certain requirements of the overlay district and if it went through all the public permitting processes and didn't meet huge resistance.
I think that overlay district, if I'm not mistaken, though, is not, it doesn't function like a special permit. It functions more like a zone change for a town meeting amendment.
Right.
It's an overlay, but it has to have certain characteristics as well as underlying characteristics.
Yeah, so that's what I was gonna do personally, was gonna go to Charlton, talk to their town planner, see if I could get the details on this, and then get it back to Don, and
I was
then
going to try and call him too, so.
hopefully he could look into it from a state law prospect to see if it's legal. Because, last thing we want to do is propose something at town meeting, get it voted in, have it go to the Attorney General, and then get it rejected.
Mm-hmm.
But my thought was that if it worked for this particular application, I don't see why it wouldn't work for something such as green energy. I mean, it has a chance to benefit the town and the people who right now can't use their land for something that, in my opinion, should be permissible to some degree.
Great. Well, that's really encouraging to hear, and I can stay in touch with Don to hear about this. And obviously, we won't do anything until we hear back and until you guys decide to go either way. But I really appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Okay.
Thanks, Guy. Okay, moving on. We will move to item H, discussion on economic development planning options, 2017 Delta Award for the first phase of the three-phase economic development program, and Joint Planning Board of Selectmen Economic Development Committee meeting on June 21st, 2017.
Well, I can tell you that the project is started. I met with Dominique
Yeah.
before I stayed in the Providence Hilton. Yeah, and we started the project. They're doing the research. I know that I watched the. Fortunately, I didn't get to the meeting on the 21st, but I watched the video of it, and they had quite a good discussion with her that night. So that's well on the way.
Good.
Okay.
You too, thank you. Do you want to have her attend a meeting when it gets close so that she can share the details, or you want to just
sure.
continue to be the liaison, or?
By
Doesn't matter
close,
who
I think we'd be talking about the end of August, or looking for a more of a public meeting sometime in September.
Yeah. All right, well,
Whether
feel
it's
free
at a
to
planning
do
board
that.
meeting or an economic development committee meeting, whatever it may be. They meet Wednesday nights as well. They usually meet
Yeah,
the
I mean, I went to the
third
joint meeting and it seemed to work.
So you're there.
It seemed to work well, so maybe we could do another joint meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, the date ended up really having an issue. I know you weren't able to make it. I don't, for some reason, I wasn't able to
Well,
make it.
That was one of the first.
Is that when it was? Okay. You didn't go, right?
No, I missed it.
Yeah. So, yeah, I was looking forward to going and attending that. Guy, since you did go, do you want to share just a few highlights from it, or kind of?
I didn't bring all the paperwork with me, but basically, this grant is, I think it was for 150 hours of service
Sounds right, yeah.
for Central Mass Regional Planning, basically, at no cost to the town. And it was Dominique, the girl that was filling in for us before we hired Dawn. So she's somewhat familiar with the town already, which is a good thing. And she was going to work, the way I understood it, she was basically going to work to go through and kind of inventory the positive things that we have in town, the positive sites, the industrial land, the business land, and make recommendations on how we can entice new businesses to come to town, or, basically, how can we streamline the process, make it more business-friendly for outside businesses, or for people that already live here to possibly take on a business venture versus go someplace else because it's, difficult in Dudley.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I got
Sure.
out of it, part of it. I'm sure there was other things that she was gonna do, but that was the highlight that I took out of it. And I know the economic committee was, Economic Development Committee seemed like they were very happy to have her on board. And, they're basically gonna be they're gonna basically act as our marketing department for the town of Dudley, that board. And, this is gonna give them some material to try to help market it.
Right? Yeah, it'd be great just to identify, what we have and what we don't have, That's a
And,
perfect starting place.
There is a possibility that we may need to make some zoning changes here or there to accommodate a better area or increase an area for business or something like that. So that's why they wanted the planning board to be involved if there was zoning changes necessary.
Looking toward a second phase of this as well, which would be more involved in the direct actions like that.
Yeah, this is, I think when she had the outline, there was, 3 phases to it?
Yeah.
I think there was 3 phases to the project, so the first phase is starting, it's paid for by the grant.
It's really, the first phase is really inventory and presenting it to the public and getting the input from the public where they want to go with it,
Right.
what they want to see, what the vision is.
And then,
The second phase is actually doing the nuts and bolts to get that happening.
and hopefully, it was discussed that there is the possibility that the second phase and possibly even the third phase could get paid for by a grant. So that would be great, because this is 150 hours, comes up to a total cost at Central Mass Regional Planning billing hours is about 12,000, I think it was.
12.5 or something like that, yeah. It's around there.
So,
That's great.
yeah.
Good. Okay, thank you. I noticed you sitting out there. Is there something, are you just here to spectate, or do you have comments for the board? Okay, good. Item I, discussion on use of remaining Green Communities funds.
Well, you have a voucher tonight to sign for the work that CMRPC has done on monitoring the project, with the monitoring agent. And I haven't heard if the highway garage project is done, but I know they were well on the way the last time we met to doing that project. I don't know if it's finished or not, but it may be. So you still have $30,000 or so in there for projects.
Mm-hmm.
We have some separate money for administration as well, so
All right,
keep on
good.
it.
The highway department project, can you refresh my memory? That was lighting?
It's energy efficient lighting,
Okay.
yeah. They were looking at heating at one point in time too, but it wouldn't pay back over the time period that it was.
Right, they have to have a certain return on investment.
Return on investment has to be, I see, 10 or 20 years.
Yeah.
And it was way out.
Okay.
Maybe there's another way to do it, but that wasn't the way. So still something we can look at, I suppose.
Okay, good. We can skip over the planner's plate if you want.
Anything on the plate was hospital food for a long
Yeah,
time.
welcome back, Don.
Yeah.
Okay. Any comments from the planning board? Sean?
Nope.
No?
I'll try to start what I just spoke about with that gentleman about the solar overlay district. I'll start.
Yeah, I was looking into the same thing.
I'll try to get,
myself.
I'll try to
I
get
know
over
that,
it.
I've been meaning to, I was meaning to get in touch with him, with Alan.
Well, I work in Charlton, so I can probably stop one day at lunchtime, so in the next week or two,
Yeah.
talk to them.
Yeah, and he called me too.
Yeah.
I know Alan.
Yep.
All right, that'd be great.
I didn't mean to look into that over the next couple of weeks, but
And are you in touch with that past applicant? From Oxford Ave?
I haven't been in touch with them, no, but I wanted to get the information from Charlton to see if it was
Okay.
even feasible.
Because they did call me, and they had commented on, even though I wasn't there, they had commented on the, kind of the hope that, you know, this wasn't dead, so,
Right.
anyway.
Well, I think if it's feasible, we should at least put it forward to the town. If it gets voted down at town meeting, there's nothing we can do about it. But
Right.
if it gets voted in at town meeting,
Yeah.
people want it. I mean, they do increase they can increase the tax base pretty substantially if you have a solar developer that's willing to pay to do a pilot program, payment in lieu of taxes. As far as I know, all the ones that have gone in Dudley so far have all agreed to some kind of pilot program. So if that tradition continues, then you know, the town does benefit from it financially, as does the landowner,
Mhm.
and ultimately everybody gets more electricity for less money.
We had a very rough megawatt, per megawatt cost and payment of taxes, payment in lieu of taxes amount. It was substantial.
Okay. Any other comments? Don, any comments?
Over the next couple of weeks, I'm going to try to get back on track with the
All right.
development project inventory.
Well, stay
Also,
healthy, you know, you gotta,
Yeah.
don't overdo it, so.
Much
Stay away from
much
the
better
room
than it was
service
last
as
time. I
the-
wasn't
at the
really ready.
Providence Hilton.
Yeah.
The room service is good.
I heard the food's not that great.
Food isn't the greatest.
Okay, Mr.
Don't want to know. And then, if there are no comments from the audience, then
Motion to adjourn?
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I
We
can
got a
bring up one
motion.
more thing, maybe. You
Yeah.
might want to do it at the next meeting when everybody's here, but we have to name a planning board delegate, you know, to CMRPC. Also,
Well, that's of course
Or
Kevin.
reorganizing
Kevin,
too.
yeah.
That's what I figured, the new guy.
You can
That
alert,
automatically goes to him.
you can alert him to that fact.
Yeah.
Newest member.
I think he'd want to, actually. He seems very
Yeah.
interested about getting involved in these things.
Yeah, what is he on vacation, or he was just not available
I think
tonight?
it was a trip planned for a long time.
Okay. All right.
Same with Pam, apparently.
Yeah.
It was a trip planned for a
Right.
long time.
Yeah, he sent us a note tonight, so, okay. So we have a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Night. Thanks, Fred.